Have you ever finished a book and immediately known it was going to become one of your all time favorites? Well, today I'm sharing every book I've ever given 5 stars. So if you're looking for your next favorite book, this video is for you. Hello everyone, welcome to Vanya Between Pages. Grab a snack and let's get into today's video. In today's video, I'm gonna be showing you guys every single book I've ever given 5 stars. This is something I've been wanting to do for such a long time, especially because I want you to get to know me a little bit more since this is my second video ever in this channel. So hopefully you'll get to know more of my reading taste. Hopefully you guys will find something that aligns with your taste in reading. So, yeah, I'm really excited and I hope you are as well. That said, what does a book need to be a 5 star read for me? Well, it needs to be well written. I can't with cringy writing. I need something that feels powerful, magical, or that makes me feel the way the author wants me to feel. I can't put up with a book that feels cringy or poorly written. I need the scenes in the book to be meaningful, and I don't like when there's certain characters in the middle of a fight or conflict, and then on the next chapter, they're happily ever after, or they're pretending nothing happened. I don't like that. I need some kind of development in the characters. Going off of that, I need the characters to make me feel something. I don't care if I hate them or love them, as long as they make me feel for them. I love when I'm scared for the fate of some character or when their actions make me genuinely so mad. I love that. I feel like that's a great job done by the author. So yes. And last, I need a good world building. I If I don't like or understand where the characters live, then I won't understand where they're coming from or why they're reacting the way they are. So that is really, really important. Also, don't mind me if I keep looking that way because I have my laptop and I want to make sure I'm saying everything I want to say about each book and that I'm going over the whole list and I'm not skipping any book. I will be separating the video into different genres. That way you can skip or I hope you're watching the whole video, but if you have a favorite genre, if you're interested in one specific thing, it will be easier for you and also for me to hear what I have to say about each book. With that said, let's get into it because the list is kind of long. Contemporary slash romance. I couldn't possibly start this list with any other book than my favorite book ever, or at least it's in my top three. And I'm talking about Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't have the physical copy with me right now, but you can see the picture of the book on the screen. Anyways, Maybe in Another Life is a book I read in 2024 and it's stuck with me since. I found myself in all the characters, especially in the main character, Hannah. Her friendship with her best friend literally was the same as my friendship with my best friend, and that's something I really appreciated. But what is this book about? Well, Maybe in Another Life talks about our main character, Hannah, who is not happy with her current life. So she decides to move back to her hometown. And once she does that, she goes to a party with her all time best friends. And there she meets up with her ex boyfriend. Now, what happens is that once this party is over, Ethan, the ex boyfriend, offers to take her home. And she has to decide whether or not she wants him to. This book shows us two different timelines, one in which she says yes and she goes out with Ethan, and the other one when she says no and she decides to get away from him. This book, oh my god, oh my god, it's so good, it's so well written. I mean, it's Taylor Jenkins Reid, she's famous for a reason, but both outcomes, it made me realize how different your life can be based on what you choose to do. And that's really important. That's a really good lesson you need to keep in mind because you decide your fate. And that's something that you can see in both timelines, the consequences of our actions. And this book is really, really good. This next book is pretty famous. Probably all of you have read it or at least have heard something about this. But still, it's a book I've read at least 4 times, and it's so good and such a fun time for me. So I'm gonna recommend it to you anyway. And I'm talking about The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Now, remember I said I don't like cringy writing? This is very cringy, very, very cringy, but man, is it fun. This book has one of my all time favorite book boyfriends, Adam Carlson. And oh my god, it has so many tropes I love. It has fake dating in it, it has grumpy sunshine, there's only one bed, and I'll kill you if you touch her type of thing. So this is perfect for all of you guys who are looking for a palette cleanser between, I don't know, fantasy books or more complex books, or if you're looking for something chill to read in the summer, maybe the beach. I think this is really, really a good decision for you to make. The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Boston. This book, yes, it's contemporary and it's romance, but it also has a heavy element of magical realism in it. But the story is not about that exactly. So, the 7 Year Slip is about our main character, Clementine, who's going through a lot of grief. And she inherits this magical apartment that can go back 7 years in the past. Now, the thing is, once she's there in the apartment, she meets this guy named I don't really know. And he's a chef, but he's 7 years in the past. That's it. That's about it. Now, one of the things I loved about this book is the writing. It feels so magical and so smooth, and I don't know, it's so easy to read, but it's not basic at all. This is really good writing, at least for me. Also, if you guys like to read about characters that are chefs or that work in the book industry, this is really good for you. This is really sweet. This is this is good. This is good. But I will say it talks a lot about grief, so if that's a topic you're not comfortable with, I would definitely look into the trigger warnings. But I think this is worth it. I think this can help you a lot with that. And yes, this is just such a sweet read and 100% recommend. Now, this next book, I don't know why I've never heard anyone talk about it, but it's such a fun read. And again, it's such a good palate cleanser. And I'm talking about Heartbreakers and Fakers by Cameron Land. I will say though, I read this book in 2024 and it was one of my best reading eras ever because I read like three or four 5-star reads in a row. That never happened till like this year when I read a series I'm gonna talk to you guys about later. But, anyways, this book, Heartbreakers and Fakers, has cheating on it. So, if this is something you don't like to read about, then maybe I would skip this if I were you. I don't like cheating either. I don't condone anything in regards to this. But I will say the cheating happens at first. It's like the very first thing that happens on chapter one. And the book is about the consequences of cheating. It's not deep though. It's about high schoolers. This is very, very YA. So I don't think this is for everyone, but it is a fun read. It teaches you a lot about like the doubts you have for your future, how important your friends are, how important your relationships are, and how important your actions are in regards to the consequences they can have. So, if you're in that age, if you're like a junior, senior in high school, I would say you can read this, but I don't think by any means that this is for everyone. Nonfiction slash memoirs. I will say I never, never, never read nonfiction, but there's one book that I read in high school that I will always be thankful to my teacher for choosing this. And I'm talking about Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch Albom. This story is about the author Mitch, who reconnects with his teacher Maury, college teacher Maury, after many, many, many years. And why are they meeting? Well, Maury just got diagnosed with LAS, and as you guys know, this is a very serious illness. And as such, Maury knows that he will die from it. So he decides to teach Mitch about the meaning of life, about love, about family. And this book has such interesting quotes that when I read it, it blown my mind. It was like I was just waking up from a 5 year sleep or slumber, whatever you want to call it. And it taught me how to live, and it teaches you a lot about living in the moment, about understanding love, about appreciating the people around you and what they do for you. And I would say this is something I think everyone, every single person, regardless of if they like to read, if they don't like to read, or whatever, I think everyone should read this book. The lessons in this book are so gut wrenching. I was bawling my eyes out by the end, but it's worth it because it's beautiful. Yes, it's sad, but it's beautiful, and it's something I think everyone should learn at least once they're like 17 or 18 from there. But so they can really appreciate the story and what Maury's trying to say. If you want to read something that will change your life and your outlook, I think this is a book for you. Fantasy. All right, guys, buckle up because fantasy is my favorite genre ever, ever, and I know this is my area. We have to start with my favorite fantasy author ever, Brandon Sanderson. First books I want to talk about. is the Mistborn series. Remember, I said I had the best era in 2024 when I read four 5-star books in a row? Well, this is what happened in 2026. I read these three in less than a week, and each of these books are 5 stars. They're all 5 stars. It's amazing. It's one of the most gut wrenching fantasies I've ever read. I think you should read this. If you want to get into Sanderson, if you like fantasy, or if you want to read something new, these are the books for you. Each book keeps getting better. It's something like I've never read something like this before. This series talks about our main character Vin, who lives with a gang of thieves and people that really don't respect her at all and treat her really, really bad. But this changes once she meets Kelsier and she joins his gang of thieves. Now, what they're trying to do is to overcome the Lord Ruler, which is the king of this world. This book has a really, really interesting magic system with metals and push and pulls. And this is really, really smart. Like, it's just so smart. It's something I could have never think of. And I don't know how Sanderson does this. I'm just like, it's mind blowing. This book is a lot about the world building, but it's also about the characters. Every single character is whoa, like Kelsier, Vince, Acid, Tensoon. It's like every character is so good and they're also well developed. And I think this is something you should get into if you're interested in that. I will say though, this is not romantasy at all. This, yes, it has a romance in it, but it's not the main focus at all. It's just it's very very subtle. It's real and it's there and it's powerful, but it's not what the series is about. If you need romance in your fantasy, then I would consider being like a little open minded in this and like, a little forgiving because it doesn't really have that much romance. I will say though, it has more romance than many of Sanderson's works. Just read this, guys. Do yourselves a favor. Also by Brendan Sanderson, we have The Way of Kings. Of course, you've heard about this. Of course, I'm gonna say it's a 5 star. Of course, I'm gonna recommend this for you. I'm right now in the middle of the second book in the series, Words of Radiance, and it's even better. It's even better. If you want to like add it to this list, then you could, because I'm sure it's gonna be like a 6 star read for me. It's so good. Anyways, The Way of Kings. It's this is not an easy read at all at all. You need to be committed to it. You need a lot of like, you need to be a little forgiving because it is 1,000 page book and it takes a couple hundred pages to get into the main storyline because you need time to understand what the world is about, what the conflict is about, how the characters and how the creatures in this world work. So yes, you need a lot of concentration, you need a lot of time. This took me like a month to read, but it was absolutely worth it. So yes, if you like fantasy, if you like serious complex fantasy, this is the book for you. Now if you want to start with Sanderson and you want to get into the Cosmere, his whole universe as a whole, I would start with Mistborn. I'm not saying you can start with this, but there is a lot of Easter eggs that I think are really fun to understand if you have all the knowledge from the previous books. And they're all really good. This book is a little hard to explain. There's a world, this fantasy world with storms, and the people get the power from Stormlight. Now, there's a lot of characters in this. In this book, there's at least four different POVs, but we focus on three most of the time. There's Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar. They all have different goals and they are living under different conditions, but there is something that is coming that will affect them all, that will make them cross paths. And I think that's what makes this book really, really interesting because you get to care a lot about all of these characters and you are genuinely scared from what is coming. So this is a good one. This is a really good one. I also gave 5 stars to The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson, of course, but this is a short story, so I'm not gonna get into it. I I just mentioned this because I think if you want to get into Sanderson without the commitment, this is something you could read first. It's a short story; it's like 100 and something pages, and it's really interesting as well, and it's really fun, but it shows you what Brandon Sanderson does with his work. So I think this is a good option if you don't want to get into a 1,000 page book at first, or if you don't want to get into a series like Miss. Now, we cannot talk about fantasy without Cassandra Clare. Cassandra Clare is the author of the Shadowhunter Chronicles. This universe has over 20 books, and there's a lot of different series within the universe. Now, the Shadowhunter Chronicles follows this group of heroes named the Shadowhunters. Now, their job is to protect humans from the demons that come into our dimension. And there's also a lot of werewolves, vampires, warlocks, and different creatures in different clans. So, because of this, the world also follows a lot of battles, a lot of conflicts, a lot of alliances between them, and that makes it really, really interesting. Now, each series follows a different generation of Shadowhunters, so we can always see the same families but different characters. And there's also a lot of characters that are immortal, so we can keep seeing them as the story progresses. And I think that's something that I really like, and that can be really interesting for all of you guys. From this series, I've read only the Infernal Devices and the Mortal Instruments. So the first two series. I'm sure I'm gonna find more 5-star reads as I keep reading, but I have to talk about some of the books I've read so far because they are really worth it. I'm gonna start with the Infernal Devices. Now, the first book that I gave 5 stars in this universe is City of Heavenly Fire. This is the last book in the Mortal Instruments. It's book 6. But I will say though, the first time I read City of Bones, the first book in the series, I fell in love with it. I gave it 4.5 stars, and then when I reread it for the second time, I gave it 5 stars, and for the third time when I read it, it kept being a 5-star read. Now, once I got to this book, to the fifth and the sixth book, I learned what a 5-star meant. And this is a real 5-star. For many people, the first book is kind of like not it, but I really, really liked it. I had a problem with the second one. It took me a long time to read it, and it's one of the shortest ones. But once I got to the third one, it was like, whoa, it was good. It was good. But yes, it's all worth it for the last books in the series. I think you should get into this if you like urban fantasy, if you like reading about demons or about vampires, werewolves, heroes, all of this that makes a fantasy a fantasy. Next book in the Shadowhunter Chronicles I gave 5 stars to is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Now, I will say this is an unpopular opinion because most people like the third book better. And yes, I understand. The epilogue is a 5 star. The series as a whole, the trilogy as a whole is a 5 stars. But the impact this book had on me is a total different thing. This for me is a 5 star. And I think it's a great start for a trilogy, for a series in general. So I definitely recommend reading this. Especially if you're not that convinced you want to get into the whole series. I think this is a good starting point. And it's only 3 books. So you can read it easily, I would say, or at least it's better than reading 6 books. I do think Cassandra Clare is worth your time, and I do think you should get into this if you're a fan of fantasy. Next up, we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. My problem with Caraval is that this is a trilogy, and the first book was a 5 star for me. It was my favorite read of 2025, I think it was, or 2024 or 2023. I don't know. I can't remember, but it was my favorite read of that year, and I had huge expectations for what was coming in the universe, but the next two were very disappointing for me. I gave the second book 3 stars and the third book 3 stars as well. And yeah, I don't know. The first book is really good, especially if you want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart. I haven't read it yet. I have it on my physical TBR, but I do think it's necessary to read Caraval because it talks a lot about the main characters from that other series, and I don't think you can understand their background as well if you haven't read Caraval. So I do think it's worth the read if you're really interested in reading Once Upon a Broken Heart. But Caraval, as the first book, it's really good. It's about this magical competition in which a lot of people are gathered, and the one that wins by solving different riddles gets a wish. And this book, it's about two sisters, Scarlett and Donatella, who escape their abusive father and go into Caraval to win the wish. I really love Scarlett, but I hated Donatella. I couldn't stand her. And the second book is about her. So I would say that's like one of my main problems with the second book. But something that is really good in all 3 books, and it's very consistent, is Stephanie Garber's writing style. She has such a way with words. It's amazing. It's so powerful, it's so magical, it's so pretty. It's like reading a poem. And that's something you don't find quite often in authors, especially not now, I will say. So I think if you really enjoy like reading like good wording, good word choice, good metaphors, good, just like what she writes and how she writes it, I think this is a really interesting book. I don't know if she keeps this up for Once Upon a Broken Heart. I would guess that she does. So, yes, this is really interesting. This is really smooth. It's easy to read, but the story kind of like shifts a little bit, and what it started as, it doesn't end up as. It's really different. And there's a lot of new creatures, new powers, new things introduced in the second and third book. But the first one is really interesting. So I think you should read it, and it has a good ending. It does open up doors for the next books, but you do close a door. So I think you could read this. Classics. I love reading classics, and I've read a fair amount of classics. I do want to keep reading classics, and I will. But I'm gonna talk to you guys about some of my favorites and some that I think are really easy to start with if you're not that into classics, or if you like to get into it, or if you just like reading classics. I don't know, whatever. The Great Gatsby. I'm sure most of you know what this is about. If you haven't read the book, maybe you've watched the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. This is really, really interesting. There's a lot of talk about new money versus old money. It's a lot of critique. It's a lot about society of the 1920s and how they're like really they have like a facade and how they don't really behave the way they want to, or they're not like they don't show who they are because of fear of the consequences of what people will think about them. And I think this is something that is really good that you read, because with social media, I think it's also like the same problem. You don't really show yourself the way you are. So this is really interesting if you want to like, think about it. This is an easy read. It's pretty short. It doesn't read like a classic, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have like complicated words or complicated writing style. It's really easy to read and easy to understand. So if you want to get into classics, I think this is a good one. Othello by William Shakespeare. This is a book, or well, a play that I've read twice, once in Spanish and once in English. And there is a lot to talk about and a lot to explore. But one of the things I find most like mind blowing is the villain or the antagonistic character in this play, Iago. He is, I would argue, one of the most complex characters I have ever read and will ever read. This character is really complex. You struggle to understand him, but I don't think you're meant to understand why he's doing what he's doing and where he's coming from. I think this book is great to start a really interesting conversation, maybe in a book club or maybe in your with your classmates or stuff like that. And there's a reason why it's a classic. I mean, it's Shakespeare, it's good. It talks a lot about like not trusting your partner and like the way you let others get into your head. And the language is quite, it takes time, but it's not long. I think it's like around 100 pages, maybe a little more, a little more or a little less. But if you want to get into classics, I wouldn't say don't start with this, but yeah, like as you progress into classics, I think this is a good one to like read in the middle of your journey. Next up, we have my favorite classic ever, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I think this is mind blowing, and I think everyone should read this because I think everyone should understand what he's trying to say. This is a critique as to how people behave, as to what people prioritize, as to what people pretend to be or want to be. And this also talks a lot about aging and beauty and what it means to be beautiful, the importance of your soul and purity and the consequences of your actions. This is one of the books I've annotated the most. Like, I have post-its like in every single page. It's so interesting. It's also really easy to read. it doesn't have a complex language by any means. So I think you could also start with this if you're used to annotating and, like analyzing the language and the scenes. This is a good one. This is a really good one. And again, 5-star read, 6-star read. It's really good. Last classic I will talk about is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is a long book. Don't start with this if you're getting into classics for the first time. This is hard to read. This takes time to read. It's a long book. And the language, I read this book like a lot of years ago, but from what I remember, it's not that easy to read. And this is a lot of internal monologue from the main character because he commits a crime and he starts like wondering why he did it in the first place. Like, what does it mean for his soul? What does it mean for him? And this is really interesting. This is really, really smart and deep. So I think if you want to get into classics because you want to learn from them, I think you need to like commit your time to this one. And yes, I think it's worth it if you're going to pay attention, if you're going to like respect it as you should. But yes, this is a 5-star read and this is really good.
Mystery.
Now, this is probably my second or third favorite genre, and all the books I'm going to talk about are by my favorite crime author and my second favorite author ever, Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie writes about different detectives, and the main detectives are two, Miss Marple and Poirot. If you're gonna read Agatha Christie, make sure you're not reading the last book in their storylines. And I'm talking about Curtin, and I can remember the name of the last one in Miss Marple's case. So, yes, just beware of that. But aside from that, you can read the books in any order. So, yeah, I'm going to talk to you guys about like, I think 4 books from her. I need to count. Anyways, I'm gonna start with The ABC Murders. Now, this novel is about a serial killer that starts killing people, uh, following like an alphabetical order, A, B, C. And this is really interesting. It's one of her most famous works for a reason because it's good. It's good. It has a good detective, it has a good storyline, and it keeps you like eager to read and to figure out what's happening. The next book I gave 5 stars to is a Miss Marple read, and it's called A Pocket Full of Rye. I remember reading this quite some years ago, and it was a blast. I love reading Miss Marple. She's really, really funny, but she's also really witty, and she has a way with words with people that I find really charming. And if you like old school detectives, if you like, reading about different characters and how they behave, and this is also like again Agatha Christie's. Um, I'm not sure when, like the year exactly that she wrote this book. So I think it's like the 1900s and something, but I'm not quite sure. So yes, this has like some type of old language, but it's easy to read. It's easy to read. So yes, I think you should get into her if you're interested in crime. Next book I will talk to you guys about has a movie adaptation. You've probably heard about this by now. If you haven't seen the movie, I would say read the book first, as always. But yeah, I'm talking about Death on the Nile. This book is it has Poirot, my favorite detective, I will say. So this is really smart, really interesting. It all happens in a boat on the Nile. So it has good, setting, and it's really interesting to read, easy to read. I have to say the same thing about Agatha Christie over and over again. She is smart. She knows how to write. She knows how to keep the reader eager to read. Any book by her I highly recommend, but these are my favorite. 450 from Paddington. This is a Miss Marple novel, if I'm not wrong. I'm not quite sure because I read this some years ago. Again, same thing, interesting, really easy to read, around 300 pages. Last one is Want to Buckle My Shoe, again, Poirot. This is really short, easy to read. I read it in a sitting. This is one of my favorites by her. It's about a dentist, and something happens, someone dies, and Poirot is trying to like solve the case and find the murderer. This is really smart again. This is really fun to read, easy to read. It has 223 pages. Yes, you read this in an hour. It's really good. So, highly recommend.
Dystopia.
This is one of my favorite genres, both in books and movies. I love reading about this, watching movies with my family, just by myself. It's really, really fun, and it's always 100% a great experience. Now, I will talk to you guys about some of the books I've read and I give 5 stars. You probably know most of them by now, but it's always a good thing to talk about them. I'm gonna start with my favorite series. Well, one of my favorite series in the whole world, and I'm talking about The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. And I will talk about them because they're becoming really popular again with the new movie coming out. And after Sunrise on the Reaping, 5 star read for me. All of these books in the series are 5 star reads for me, except for Mockingbird, Mockingjay, and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but they were 4.5. So they're really good at either way. And the series as a whole is a 5 star, so you should read them 100%. If you understand what this is about, you will find a great critique as to society of today. And I think it's really important for everyone to read if you understand the hidden meaning of the story. So yes, 100% recommend. This is a good time. I read the trilogy in a week. I've read the books since then at least 5 times. This is one of my favorite universes and stories and characters ever. So I think everyone should read this. The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. Now, I've read the book and I've watched the movie. And I've heard people saying the movie's not good. I think the movie's amazing. I think it's a great adaptation. There's a lot of key scenes in the movie that actually happen in the book. And it has great actors. There's a girl, the main character, was in the Hunger Games movie, the first one, and it's great. It's a great movie. This is about a world in which there's something happens and kids start dying. And if you survive, if your kid survives, they develop powers. There's like this order of powers and it's determined by colors. Greens are like extremely smart. Yellows like control electricity. Blues have like telekinetic powers and reds control fire and orange is like mind control. So it's like from least dangerous to most dangerous, and it's so interesting. It's so amazing to read, and this makes you feel like you're like in the end of the world. It's like really good. It's really good. I highly recommend. This Savage Song by V. Schwab. This is a duology, really easy to read. 2 books, you read them in a sitting. This is about a world that is divided between humans and monsters. So the main characters are the daughter of the president of the human faction and the son of the king or the ruler of the monster faction, and you get to see them meet and interact with each other, and you see like what happens after, and there's a lot of battles, a lot of conflict, but this is good. And yeah, it's B sharp. So yes, it's worth your time, 100%. Science fiction. Now, I haven't read many books in this genre, but the ones I've read are good. So of course I have to talk to you about them. First up, we have Warcross by Mary Lou. I read this so many years ago, but it stayed with me since. I remember my reaction to the ending. I was flabbergasted, and this is something I think you should read if you like Mary Lou. I have Legend by her in my physical TBR, and I'm gonna read this soon. But Warcross, it's about this world, this video game. It's really, really popular. Everyone's playing it, and our main character is a hacker, and she gets hired by this company that developed the video game because there's something going on, and she has to find a way to like get rid of this problem once and for all. This has a good plot twist. So 100% recommend. It was a 5 star read for me. This is a duology. I haven't read the second one, but from what I've read, the first one, it's amazing. 5 star. Highly recommend. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is about a world in which people receive calls on their last day of, on the day they will die. So every single character in the story will die on that day, and they decide to hang out and meet each other, and you see their relationships develop. and this book talks a lot about like the importance of people around you and love and just like caring for each other and cherishing the moments we have with other people, as brief as they are. So this is a very interesting book. It's very deep. I will say read it if you're like, if you think you can handle this, if you think you can like understand what it's meant to say and what it's meant to, you know, teach you as you read it. So yes, it's a really good book. I know there's at least two others that just came out like sometime last year, and I haven't read them. I don't know if I will because I read the story so many years ago. And the first book has a good ending. Like you won't need to read more if you don't want to. But yes, the first one is worth it. So I would say read it if you want to, if you're interested by this premise. And now finally we have the special mentions. These are books I also gave 5 stars, but everyone has read them already probably, or at least you've watched the movies or you know what this is about. So yes, I think these are great books for your kids. If you have, you know, like little kids, little cousins that are looking into some books to read, these are great recommendations. We're gonna start with Harry Potter 3 and 7, so the third book and the last book, and Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian. Yes, Percy Jackson, the Last Olympian. And this is a great book, and I have more books in, you know, Rick Riordan's universe. I have the third and fourth book in the Heroes of Olympus, so the Mark of Athena, and the fourth book, which I can't remember the title. And I have Magnus Chase and the Hammer of Thor, which is the second book. Magnus Chase is a trilogy, and oh, I would say it's one of my favorite series by Rick Riordan. So highly recommend. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you guys for staying till the end. I hope you had a great time, and I hope you found at least a couple books to add to your physical TBR. Every book I talked about, I have genuinely loved and gave 5 stars. So I think you will all love them if you read them. So yeah, I hope you had a great time, and I will see you soon with more bookish content in the next video. Bye!